Hello, families. I'm Ruth Metzger, and I'm the principal of Lincoln. Welcome to all of our new links and their families. This presentation is to help you pick your classes for next year. I want you to think about, as you listen to the presentation and consider your courses, what will you be doing outside of class? Will you be in sports? Will you be in clubs? What are your outside commitments? And think about how that looks, because high school is a big transition, and I want to make sure that you have a doable schedule and are as successful as you possibly can be your first year in high school. Good luck and listen, and we'll be here to help you along the way. Next up is Mr. Eichner, our assistant principal, to talk a little bit. Well, actually, I'm supposed to be going over the agenda. So first off, we're going to talk about how students are assigned to Lincoln. How high school credits and graduation requirements work, so you have that idea. We'll talk a little bit about our course offerings and the course selection process, and then there'll be an opportunity for you to ask questions in the chat, and we will try and answer as many of those as possible, and those we don't get to, we'll put in a FAQ later. All right, so now it's Mr. Eichner to talk with you a little bit about how students are assigned to Lincoln.
All right, good evening. My name is Corey Eichner, the proud assistant principal at Lincoln. Very happy to be with you here this evening. We frequently get asked the question, how people get enrolled in Lincoln or who's going to be coming to us next year. So our incoming 9th grade students will include those who currently live within the Lincoln geographic boundaries. It also includes students in the highly capable cohort in the north end of Seattle, as well as students who are part of the dual language immersion program who is opted in, and of course, anybody who took advantage of the open enrollment process here in Seattle Public Schools. If you are unsure of which school you are assigned to for next year and would like more information on that, we encourage you to visit the Seattle Public Schools website under the enrollment tool, or merely log into the source and check underneath class registration, and that will tell you what school you'll be attending next year. As we go through this process, our counselors are going to share an abundance of information for you, collectively for you to consider and take a look at. We do recognize that we have a number of our students who are part of some of our specialty programs. This includes our highly capable cohort, the dual language immersion program, students being served on an IEP, or those also being supported in ELL. Do note the information our counselors will be sharing will be applicable to all of our students. However, in some of these cases, some additional supports are in place, or some additional considerations will take place as you go through the registration process. Specifically, I would call attention to our students who are served on an IEP or those in ELL. You will be assigned a case manager to help assist you with this process, and we will be utilizing our feeder program to help inform our choices and support those students who are in HCC and DLI. Now I would like to turn it over to our head counselor, Mr. Todd Biddle.
Thank you, Mr. Eichner. So I'm going to start by talking a little bit about what it means to be a high school student. So some of you have students that have already been in high school, and some of you students that are watching may already know this information, but just wanted to touch a couple things really quickly. So first of all, what is a credit? So a high school credit is a little different than middle school in that a student has to receive a certain amount of credits to graduate from high school. To earn a credit, a numerical value is given to every class that you pass with a D or better. A semester length course is 0.5 credits and a year-long course is 1.0 credits. So you take 6 classes per semester. So you should be receiving 3 credits per semester, 6 credits a year, and you need 24 credits to graduate. So here's what it looks like. So as we break it down a little bit, because there are different requirements in different areas. So students need 4 years of English, 3 years of math. We may recommend more than that depending on your post-secondary goals, but we'll talk about that later. 3 years of science, 3 years of social studies, 1 year of career technical education, 2 credits of health and fitness, and we'll talk about how that works together, 2 credits of art, and 2 years of world language. Students also need 4 credits of electives, but what happens when you fill those other buckets like math? Your 4th year of math actually becomes an elective. Your art classes can be an elective. So those things are all dictated by how your schedule works every year. And Ms. Shu and I, and whoever else your counselor may be, as we'll be adding more counselors to Lincoln, we'll be able to go over that with you each year. Now, a couple other things to graduate that you need: a high school and beyond plan. We use Naviance at Lincoln, like a lot of you have in your middle schools or wherever you're coming from. You need to have passed Washington State history, which a lot of you have in probably 7th grade. Service learning hours, 60. And just a little side note on the service learning hours, you can bring in 15 service learning hours prior to your 9th grade year. So if you do a service learning project over the summer, or even right now, if you've had an opportunity to go and help at a food bank or something, you can actually bring 15 of those hours in with you. The other thing is state exams. You will be taking state exams your sophomore year as well as your junior year. Seattle Public Schools has aligned their graduation requirements with the college requirements for the state of Washington. So college academic distribution requirements are what they're called in Washington. So they align pretty closely, as you can see from the chart here. The only thing that's a little different is the 1 credit of senior math-based quantitative. And so we'll be talking with you as your student's counselor and helping them make those decisions on how to post-secondary plan. As you're looking at this presentation, and this presentation will be available for you to look at later as well, you can look at the UC and CSU minimum entrance requirements, so the California State University systems, and then select colleges, what they might be looking for, so you can compare what the differences are. I'm now going to hand it off to Ms. Shu, and I will let her tell you a little bit more about herself, and we'll move on.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for logging in and being here with us tonight. I'm Samantha Shu. I am a counselor at Lincoln. I'm going to start tonight by talking about some general overview of our course offerings by subject area. So we're going to start with English. And in language arts, like Mr. Biddle said before, you are required to take 4 credits or 4 years in order to graduate. And this is what it looks like for each year in 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, even though we don't have 12th graders yet. So all of our 9th graders will take Intro to Composition and Lit. We do have some incoming new 10th and 11th graders that are attending tonight, so you will have a kind of get an idea of what you'll register for there. In 11th grade, you have the option to choose between American Literature or AP English Language if you're looking for a more rigorous option. In social studies, to meet your 3 credits or 3 years, this is how it will break down for you. In 9th grade, you can, depending on your program and you know what you are coming in with, you will either take World History 1 for 0.5 credits. That's a semester, or you can take it through our Japanese and Spanish immersion world history class. So that is a class that teaches world history in that language and through that cultural perspective. And that is available for our dual language immersion students and for students in a higher level of Japanese or Spanish. So if you're interested in that, please register for that as well. That's taken in combination with human-centered design, which is a CTE course, and we will talk about that a little bit later. In 10th and 11th grade, 10th grade, you have the option of World History 2 and 3. Those are 2 semesters of World History. You can take AP World History, which is a more advanced placement, rigorous AP World History, or the World History 2 and 3 in that immersion option as well. And then in 11th grade, we move into US History, where you'll take US History or AP US History, and after that, Government, your senior year. In science, we follow the sequence that is recommended and required by Seattle Public Schools. So what we do for incoming students is base your next progression in science on what you're coming in with. The sequence of science is Physics A and Chemistry A. That's a semester of physics and a semester of chemistry. The year after that, you'll take a full year of biology, and then the year after that, you'll take physics B and chemistry B. That will round out the sequence of science. And then once you've completed that sequence, you are welcome to select AP Chemistry, AP Biology, AP Physics, or Biotech Genetics. And those are more advanced, and that's why they require that sequence to be completed before you can opt into those courses. So at Lincoln, we do what's called an honors option. So what that means is that all of our classes are integrated and all students will take classes together. That also means that all students have the option to opt in, as we say, to honors work. And that looks different depending on the subject area. And then if you're open to a deeper and more reflective learning, then you can opt in the semester. And then each semester, if you and your teacher decides that you've earned that honors designation, that H will go onto your transcript. That honors option is available in 9th and 10th grade English language. It's available in World History 1, 2, and 3. Our immersion histories are automatically honors because they're taught in a different language. And then any of our science classes that are pre-AP, you are welcome to opt into honors as well. In math, we have separate honors classes for Algebra 2 and pre-calculus. And that is because they move at a different pace, so there's not an option to opt in those courses. If you have questions, you want more information, we do have an appendix on this presentation. The appendix has very detailed information on how our different departments use honors and how they implement it in their courses. So after this, if you want to read a little bit more about that, our departments actually wrote that up for us tonight, so that will tell you a lot more. In math, we again follow the sequence as directed by Seattle Public Schools. So you'll need 3 credits to graduate, and like Mr. Biddle said, he and I are going to recommend that most students take a 4th year of math. So that includes Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. Algebra 2 is a graduation requirement, so you've got to get through Algebra 2 in order to earn that diploma. But this is the sequence. So we offer modified math for students with IEPs. Algebra 1, Geometry. After Geometry, you can take Algebra 2 or Algebra 2 honors, which are separate. After that, you are on to pre-calculus or pre-calculus honors. If you are done with Algebra 2 honors and you're not interested in pre-calculus, you may have the option to do probability and statistics or AP statistics. That's not something that I think we would recommend for 9th graders because we're going to want you to complete those 3 years. And it's really not possible to complete 3 years if you come in and take statistics. So we're really going to want you to proceed on that advanced course pathway. AP Calculus AB or AP Calculus BC come after pre-calculus. And BC is basically an accelerated, more advanced version of calculus. And then after that is Calculus 3 for those that really love math and want to learn all of it. That's going to get you all the way up to Calculus 3. All right, PE. So as we mentioned before, all of our students are required to take 1.5 credits of PE. It's actually 2, they're kind of lumped together like it was shown in that chart that Mr. Biddle showed earlier. So that breaks down to 1.5 credits or 3 semesters of physical education and 0.5 credits or 1 semester of health. All of our 9th graders coming into Lincoln next year are going to be placed in personal fitness and health. And there's one exception to that, and that will be if you are taking a year-length music class and a world language together. So if you are in that category and you're wondering, how am I going to take personal fitness and health? How am I going to meet that graduation requirement? Do not fret. We will figure out a plan. We will make a 4-year plan next year, and we'll figure out where that fits in your schedule. As far as a waiver or an option to take online health, that is not an option. We do not offer that. So thankfully, you'll have it set in your schedule and you'll be able to meet that graduation requirement very early. World language, we're very excited about world language at Lincoln, and we offer Japanese 1 through AP language or Japanese 5, Spanish 1 through AP literature or Spanish 6. We offer French 1, and eventually we'll go up to AP language for French as well. And then next year, we'll have American Sign Language. We're offering American Sign Language. We also offer World History 1, 2, and 3 taught in Japanese and Spanish. I went over that a little bit early, but I think it's important to include here. They are taught by world language teachers, and they are immersed in those languages. If you are a dual language immersion student, you're coming up to Lincoln and you're going to continue on that immersion, you should choose Japanese or Spanish 3. We are working with teachers to take the placement recommendation based off of assessments that were done earlier this year or somewhat recently, and we're going to adjust accordingly. So log in when you do your registration, please make sure that you choose Japanese or Spanish level 3. Visual and performing arts. You need 2 credits of visual or performing arts, and there's lots of ways that you can meet that requirement. If you are looking at performing arts, we offer band, orchestra, choir, and theater. We also offer a long list of visual arts. You can find that information in our course catalog. If you are going to go into any of our music classes, we have some specific information. So you will be placed following auditions. We have audition information in our appendix. So all of that information is in the appendix of this presentation. And when you go to register, you will choose concert band, concert orchestra, or concert choir. And those will be where you'll land, and then we will place you accordingly after your audition. So we work together closely with those music directors to tell us where you would need to go. But to register, please choose concert. CTE. So 1 credit or 1 year of CTE is required to graduate. We offer many classes already that meet this requirement, and we are building these classes as we grow. I'm very, very excited about the future of what we'll be able to offer over the next few years. Thankfully, all of our 9th graders will meet this requirement with a class called Human-Centered Design. It is our entry-level class to our CTE programs. This year it's called Mixed Media. Next year it's called Human-Centered Design. So all of our 9th graders will take that class, and it will be in conjunction. So you'll take a semester of World History and a semester of Human-Centered Design, and that will give you 0.5 credit of CTE. So as you are thinking and talking over the next few days, and Ms. Metzger kind of already touched on this a little bit, but we really do want you to think about balance. The workload, the time commitment, the energy that it takes to be a successful high school student is a lot, and it's a big lift from middle school to high school. So we absolutely want you to challenge yourself. We want you to take rigorous courses. We also want you to be involved, and we want you to be a part of our Lincoln family beyond the classroom. So we definitely want you involved in whatever that means to you. That could be sports, that could be activities, clubs. We have awesome leadership opportunities as well as service learning, and we participate in something called exhibitions twice a year. We were only able to do it once this year, unfortunately, but exhibitions are a time commitment as well. So please think about that and think about where you would strike that balance and how you can choose your classes so that you are a successful student inside the classroom as well as outside. All right, Mr. Biddle, I think is going to talk about the course registration process. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry about that. I was muted. Yeah, so we went from that nice peaceful rock formation to this alternate sign. One of the reasons why this is so big and bold is because it's very important. As you're going through the course registration process, and we'll talk about that in just a moment, you will want to select 2 alternate courses to make sure that we can find a place for you. It's really important that these are different than your original selections, especially when it comes to electives, and these are mostly in electives. And if you are choosing the first level of a world language, if you're interested in trying sign language next year, make sure you give us a secondary language so that if we can't get you into that language that you want, that we can make sure that we know what language it is that you want. All right, so now typical 9th grade classes. So Ms. Shu touched on this a little bit, and if you remember from the original slide that showed what's required, we can talk about what that looks like every year now. So 9th graders in our building will be in math, science, both based on your placement, hopefully if we have your information from middle school, Introduction to Literature and Composition, World History 1 in combination with Human-Centered Design, Personal Fitness and Health, unless you're opting into music, and then 1.0 elective of credit. And this would include world language, art, anything that you want to take this year. As a 10th grader, again, math, science, your ELA class, World Literature and Composition, World History 2 and 3, so do a full year of World History. 1.0 of elective, it's actually 2.0 of elective, but we separated it here because we wanted to indicate that if you have not taken health as coming in as a 10th grader, it is really important that you get into it. As Ms. Shu mentioned, there are no waivers in Seattle Public Schools for health, and the process for taking it online has really been ratcheted down and at the district level, and we will not be approving online health. 11th grade, same thing, math, science, American literature or AP English, US history or APUSH or AP US history. 1.0 of elective, again, if you haven't taken health, we need to get that out of the way, and then another year of elective. Of course, we encourage our students to take multiple years of world language, so if you have that opportunity. For students with IEPs, if you need a focus class or what you may have a study skills class, that would fall into the elective category here. So it's important that we're planning with your counselor if you don't know what classes you need to graduate at this point. So our registration process, because of this unique situation we're in, is twofold. So typically we would go around to classes, we would meet with students. Last year at Hamilton and McClure and all of our feeder middle schools, we went and we had families fill out a form as well as doing an actual form, a paper form. But because we don't have access to a lot of things right now, we thought it would be easier to create a Microsoft form for kind of gathering the information that we need to make sure you're properly placed. So the first thing that you're going to do is go to our website and find the Microsoft form that's embedded in the little link that I'll show you in just a moment. And basically you're going to go through and you're going to tell us what you're interested in taking next year. We're going to ask you a couple other little pieces of information and you're going to submit that. So we're going to make a database full of what all of our students are taking. It's going to be really easy for us to plug in classes for students that have missed the next process, which is the online course selection process. So the first process is to go fill out our form. It takes you 5 minutes. It's super easy. The second process is actually going online through the source. If you are a current Seattle Public Schools student, you know what I'm talking about. And you will select your courses that way. We will have an instruction video here in a moment that you'll see how to do that. So our online registration window is open right now. It actually opened about a half an hour ago. We didn't tell you. We didn't want you to get a head start without hearing all of our information. But our online registration window is open and all of this information is currently embedded in our web page. So when you go to our website, you can actually go to the front page and find all of this information. So a couple things to remember when you are registering that we want to remind you of. If you are taking world language and performing arts as a 9th grader, it's kind of tricky. So because we don't have a way to manipulate the data like we would if we were sitting together or if we had your form and we were entering it, when you're going through the process, when you go to the course selection form, the Microsoft form, just pick the classes you want. We don't have to worry about it there. So tell us you're wanting to take your world language, you're wanting to take your performing art. We'll make sure we have that information. The second part, when you're online, it's a little trickier. So you will, as a ninth grader, if you were wanting to opt out of PE, you will select your first semester of music that you want, as well as your first semester of world language. So you're not going to pick both semesters. That way we know, because you're only going to have the ability to pick 1.0 credits, so 2 semester length courses. We want you to pick the first semester of your music and the first semester of your world language. And again, these instructions will be available for you to get through this PowerPoint, which is already embedded in the website as well. Other considerations: when selecting a year-length course, like let's say you're selecting Spanish and you're in Spanish 1, we want to make sure that you select Spanish 1A and 1B. If you select 1A and drawing and painting, we don't know what you actually want. Because you may only have 1.0 worth of wiggle room in your schedule, we want to make sure that we know what you want. So make sure that you get the Spanish 1A and 1B. Ninth graders, you can choose 1.0 credits of elective. 10th and 11th graders, you will need to choose all of your classes. Of the 10th and 11th graders that are coming in, only a handful are from Seattle Public Schools. So we don't actually know what classes you would naturally matriculate into. So we want to make sure that you have an opportunity to choose all 6 of your credits: math, science, ELA, history, and 2.0 credits of electives. Again, make sure that you're selecting the first and second semester. So in this presentation is an embedded video. So I am not going to make you all watch the video with me right now. So the video is about 13 minutes long, and it's a step-by-step indicator of how to go on and register online. Again, this presentation is already embedded in our website through the front page, and I'll show you in just a second how you get there. But it's really important that if you're not watching in presentation mode, that you click Control when you go over this little thing right here, okay? If you're in presentation mode, you can probably just click on it, on the link. So here are some links. Yes, you're gonna get that a lot as the links. We do try to tie that in a little bit as often as possible. So if you were looking for information on the high school or course catalog, on the counseling department, athletics, ASB, performing arts, and our deeper learning projects, then you can actually go to our website through any of these links. These are all live links currently. So when you go to the front of our web page, so if you're on the very, very front of, you can click right on this, lincoln@seattleschools.org, you will see, if you scroll down, you will see an icon that looks like this, or a little area that looks like this. As soon as you click read more, it will open up, and the forms that we discussed, the Microsoft forms, as well as this presentation, will be embedded there. Now, as we've been going along, there's been some questions that we've seen popping up in our live Q&A, and it looks like Mr. Eichner and Ms. Metzger have answered quite a few of them. So what I'm going to do first is publish the questions that have been answered. If I haven't published them yet, give me just a moment to do this. It's published. And then we'll try to go through and see if there's any other questions that haven't been asked yet. In just a moment, I might wrap Ms. Shu into this to answer a question as well, but I am going to answer the first question that I see here, and that is, can I register for advanced drama class if I took Intro to Drama and 2 years of advanced drama at Hamilton? So we would recommend that you actually go into beginning drama, not because of the actual level. So the leveling of the classes will happen within the class, depending on how many sections we have of that class. It will actually be differentiated by different groups. The reason we would recommend that you start with the beginning level is because you would have an opportunity then to take more levels while you're in high school. So it won't actually dictate how involved you are or what happens with the process, but we want to make sure that you have an opportunity to take as many as possible. Okay, I'm going to hand this off to Ms. Shu here in just a moment. And I'm going to send her live right now and ask her the question. Ms. Shu, it looks like you might still be muted, so you might want to unmute yourself.
Hello, thank you.
Yes, so what is the advantage of opting into honors?
Well, there are, oh, there's a little bit of an echo, so excuse me if I talk slowly. There are a couple of advantages. One is that in Washington State, you receive a weighted credit for an honors class up to, so instead of out of a 4.0, it would be out of a 4.5. That class would be. It also gives you an opportunity to try on some more rigorous coursework. If you are a student who wants to go on to advanced coursework, maybe you're thinking about post-secondary plans already, this would be a good chance for you to opt into some of that higher level coursework in preparation also as well for AP. Can you think of anything else, Mr. Biddle?
Yeah, the rigor is really if you're wanting an extra challenge, and because of the way our honors system is set up in 9th and 10th grade, it's really a great opportunity for students who are either coming out of the highly capable program and are used to being challenged at a grade level above, or are students that may not have come from an honors background and have an opportunity now to really challenge themselves and work to their potential, because we know that a lot of students can handle these courses. Okay, let me see if I can. Yes.
There are a lot of questions about how you can get credit for PE and waiving PE for sports. Can you address that?
Yes. So you can, once you have taken personal fitness, so Seattle Public Schools requires students to pass what are called the state competencies. So because of the way that our waiver system works, they require that you take the state competencies before you are able to waive any PE courses. So we do have documentation for any students who are interested in waiving classes. And one of the first questions it asks is, have you passed the competencies? The competencies are embedded into our personal fitness class. So this way, every 9th grader will have an opportunity to take the course, get the competencies out of the way, and then we'll have an opportunity to waive the other 1.0 or 2 semester length courses in order to meet that 1.5 credits. Now you don't get credits for, you don't get actual credit for a waiver. It just means that it opens up your schedule for an opportunity to take another course. So you don't have to take that other 1.0 of PE. Ms. Metzger and Mr. Eichner, do you want to throw any other questions at us?
This is Mr. Eichner. I've seen a couple of questions popping up from folks who are coming outside of a Seattle Public School feeder program, so a private school or a non-Seattle Public School, curious how they go about selecting the right courses, around, math or language when we won't necessarily have the records that we have within our own school district.
Okay. So we'll give Ms. Shu the next one, but I'm going to answer this one if you don't mind, because I was just talking to the registrar today about this.
Go for it.
Our registrar, Ms. Warner, who you will meet next year, she's fantastic. She has already sent out requests for records for next year in order to, so that we can place students. In order to speed up that process, what would be really helpful to Ms. Shu and I, because we're the only 2 counselors on staff currently. So even though we may not be your counselor next year, because we will have another full-time counselor, we can help with that process if you have a digital copy of your paperwork so that we can see what classes you've taken to this point. That's really, really helpful for us when we're placing. So we know, if you've taken Algebra 1 as a 9th grader and Geometry as a 10th grader and you're going into 11th grade, we know that you're eligible to go into Algebra 2. So if you can get that information and send it to either myself or Ms. Shu, then we can help walk you through that process. Ms. Shu, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I just want to say that we follow that sequence to the letter. So if you see, especially like in math, if you see that you're in geometry, next year you will take Algebra 2. Now I know that not all districts work that way and it's not all that seamless, but if you can do the best you can also on that Microsoft form, which we hope that you all fill out. Then it'll give us a general idea of what you're thinking. I know that there are some questions around science because other school districts do full year sciences. They don't split up physics and chemistry. We can make a plan for that. So I just need to know kind of, where you're at now or what you took this year or last year, and then we can make a plan for that, because there's definitely a way to make that puzzle fit together so that you get all of those graduation requirements. I saw a lot of questions. Wait, actually, did you have one in mind?
I have one for you, Ms. Shu. So
go for it. Shoot.
If a student wants to do jazz band or is selected to do jazz band because they have to try out, in 9th grade, do they also have to do concert band?
They do. They do have to do concert band. So jazz band is our only music class that is offered in what's called 0 period. So I don't know exactly what time it starts, maybe 7:30. I think it starts at 7:30 about. So you come in early, you take jazz band, and then you start your day at Lincoln. And then concert band is in the day. And that's where you also are prepping for other commitments.
Okay, Mr. Eichner or Ms. Metzger, you seeing something you'd like us to answer?
I've had a request to, if we can maybe scroll back and put up there what a typical 9th grade schedule looks like. I know the presentation will be made available, but we have a number of folks. Maybe we hold it there at the 9th grade and then flip to the 10th and do 11th, just for those who might want to take a closer look at that. Thank you, Mr. Biddle.
Absolutely.
I see a question. It says, if we register on the source, do we have to fill out the Microsoft form? Yes, please. That helps us out immensely. So that gives us information. It's just like if we were in person and we asked you to fill out a paper form and register online. This is how we are getting that paper form information. It gives us a little bit more specific information about your student.
And Ms. Shu, I want to add to that. Last year when we went through this process, we did have some students that accidentally chose the wrong classes on the online registration process, and we were able to go back into the paper form, or what would be the Microsoft form this year, and actually make those corrections. So it was actually helpful for the students. Okay, here's one. So I'm going to send myself live here really quickly.
Go for it.
If I took Spanish 1 and 2 in middle school, do I register for Spanish 3 in 9th grade? So the answer is yes. So it is, we are hopeful that all students that have come out of level 2 in middle school are ready for 9th grade world language. With this caveat, so we do have to reach out to middle schools and talk to middle school world language teachers about what their recommendations are. And we hope that you have a good relationship with your middle school teacher, because we will say, well, your middle school teacher said you probably should go back into 2, and we may make that change. We, of course, will chat with you about it first, but we do want you to understand that sometimes, even though you've taken that class, that rolling on into high school may be a little bit more challenging than you're anticipating. And that same thing can also go toward math. So at the beginning of this year, I had some students, or at the end of last year, contact me and ask if they could repeat their 8th grade math. And the answer is yes. If you feel like you are not ready to move on in math, and you took Algebra 1 this year, and you know that it's so foundational, and you want to make sure that you have an opportunity to master that, let one of us know, and we will make sure that we can accommodate that.
100%, 100%. I did see a question, although I lost it, so maybe that person dismissed it.
Miss Biddle and Mr. Biddle and Miss Shu, there's quite a few questions still around placement in world language. And I want to be really clear with people that DLI students, that's why we're asking them just to register in 3, and then there'll be communication between the teachers to make sure we place them. And then the stamp test for people who want to try and get credit, I'm assuming the district may figure that out at some time in the future when we come back to school for students who want to do that. But we will still recommend that students take 2 years of world language, whatever they come into in high school, for the dual language immersion kids.
Yes. So do you want me to speak more? Is there a specific thing you want us to expand on? But
that's it, if they could hear that.
Yeah, perfect.
So let me move back to, sorry, I was scrolling through these accidentally. So now his level, grade 10, Mr. Eichner asked me to leave that up for a moment.
We're sorry, we're scrolling through questions and they're coming in hot. So
Ms. Shu, Mr. Biddle, the one, I know we've mentioned this already, but it keeps popping up just around ninth graders taking, both year-long performing arts and year-long world language. Is that possible, and how does that work?
For all 4 years. So yeah, so we have a lot of students that are going to plan on taking 4 years of world language and 4 years of music. And that's definitely something that we can talk about. So when you come into Lincoln, and we will sit down with you, and whoever your counselor is, will sit down with you and we'll talk about your 4-year plan, and we'll look at all of these graduation requirements. And I say it a lot, it's like a puzzle. So we will figure out which pieces, how they fit together. And that is different for every student. So there's really not a one-size-fits-all answer to how you get all of those requirements in. It can depend on if you decide to take a 4th year of math, or if you are going to take, basically there's a 0.5 semester of government in your 12th grade year, and that would be a space for you to take health. And so basically what I will say is that we will make a plan with you. You will come in and we will make a plan when you are at Lincoln to make sure that you get all of those graduation requirements.
And Ms. Shu, so there were questions continued about how students register for that when they do the online registration piece. Can you remind them of how to do that, or would you like me to?
You, I think, summed it up in a way that is less confusing than when I try to explain it. So you take over that one, I think.
Obviously, it wasn't less confusing, or the questions. So maybe it was confusing. We'll own that. So what we want to do when we do the online registration process is for the student to select the first semester of the language that they want and the first semester of the music that they want. What we will do then is go in, we will remove PE and health, and we will place them in the second semesters of both of those courses as well. So how it would look in a 9th grade schedule is it would be math, science, English, history, and human-centered design. And where this personal fitness and health would be, that's where we would plug in music. And then this 1.0 elective would be your world language.
Yeah, I'm getting a few follow-up questions around honors, and I don't know, Mr. Biddle, do you want to expand maybe a little bit? Maybe I wasn't super clear around our honors option.
Sure, and we won't go too far in depth with that because, as we mentioned earlier, there's an appendix to this presentation. So I don't want to scroll through this too quickly, but as you can see, if you continue on past our what we actually presented, the appendix shows the honors process for English language and world history and our science. I will also, as soon as this is over, be posting a slide about the difference between honors and non-honors algebra 2 and pre-calculus. So that definition will be in here within 10 minutes after this presentation is over. So when you go to the website, you will see that the change has been made in the PowerPoint presentation. There's also a lot of helpful information here about band, orchestra, choir, and theater. We're not going to go through all of those right now, so I'm going to back up. Sorry, I didn't mean to tease y'all, but that way you have an opportunity to look at that because it's a lot of information. It's very, very word heavy, and we want you to have time to digest that.
Mr. Biddle, somebody asked us how they know who their counselor is.
Yes. So next year's counselor. So right now, if you are an 8th grader, at Hamilton or McClure, you have a counselor. They are your counselor at Hamilton or McClure. So I don't want to be too cheeky about this, but please understand that Miss Shu and I are not only still serving the 600 and some odd kids that we have at Lincoln, but we also are learning a whole new process of education, and that is supporting students online. And we're really, really busy doing that. So if you have any questions that may go to your current counselor, that would be fantastic. And I understand that you may have specific questions for us. Currently, I am the counselor for students with the last names A through K. And Miss Shu is for the second half of the alphabet, L through Z. Next year, we will be getting a third counselor. So Miss Shu and I will be taking on some of the ninth graders. We don't know how that's going to look yet. And then a third counselor will also take a chunk of the ninth grade students coming in, as well as the 10th grade students that we have currently. If you go to our website, you can find our contact information. But again, please reach out to your middle school counselor and ask them any questions, and hopefully they can help. But if not, we're always here to do as much as we can. And all of these questions that we're getting, we're going to do our best to publish an FAQ by Friday also. So we're seeing a lot of the same questions, so we're going to try to create something so we can put it on our website by Friday. All right, Mr. Eichner or Ms. Metzger, you see anything that
I'm lost in it.
So there's a couple follow-up questions around PE waivers. I just want to expand on that a little bit. So the way that we will waive, so to speak, the 1.0 of PE that's left over after your student completes personal fitness can occur through sports. And we have a form that we use at Lincoln. So when your student's a Lincoln student and they're going to participate in sports, they can either log their hours or have their coach sign off on their participation to basically, they don't receive the credit, but it waives the requirement. So, but you do need to complete personal fitness first before you can waive PE, if that makes sense. Thank you so much for allowing me to repeat that and expand on that, because the question, it is a little bit of a tricky situation, and it can be very confusing.
Ms. Shu, are you able to add on to that? I'm not sure if you've mentioned this or not, but I've seen a couple of questions on, with regards to that, is if you are doing the 4 years of language and the 4 years, of music, how do you fit health in? Because you've mentioned you can't waive health. So where does the health fit in if you are planning on or hoping to do that type of schedule? Yeah,
there's a perfect little spot in your senior year where you'll take government and health. And that's going to be the easiest answer to that question. So I think that, but there might be a space in junior year, or, I don't know, there's a way to make it fit, but the easiest answer is to say you'll take it senior year in conjunction with government. So a semester of government and a semester of health.
Okay, so I see one question that actually I want to, I'm going to take on, Ms. Shu, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
There was a question about how you receive middle school credit at the high school level. So this is actually changing this year for us, and I want to be as articulate about this as possible, as it is a new policy. So starting with the rising ninth graders this year, middle school courses will automatically be placed on the high school transcript. So if you have taken, and it's not all middle school courses, so let me back up just a little bit. If you have taken a high school level math, so anything from Algebra 1 above, or a high school level science, so anything from Chemistry A and Physics A up, or if you have taken a world language at the middle school that is numbered sequentially from 1 up. Those classes will automatically be placed on your transcript, but they are placed on your transcript without a grade, so they show that you have passed. The reason that they've done this is because it doesn't actually skew your GPA when you're looking at post-secondary planning. So If we were to say, okay, so you got a C in Spanish 1 in 7th grade, a lot of students would be concerned about colleges or whatever their future plans are. Somebody's seeing that. So the district policy is they actually put it on the transcript with no grade, because colleges don't actually look at grades for any class taken before 9th grade anyhow. So it's just the district's way of showing that you've completed that advanced coursework, and that when you come to high school, you already basically have those credits taken care of. Okay, Ms. Hsu, did you want to add anything to that?
Well, there's kind of a related question I'm seeing around placement for those, for class, maybe if you're HCC or if you took high school level classes in middle school. So if you want to talk about how we place kids coming in from middle school, taking high school classes.
Sure.
For math and science specifically, I think is probably the main question.
Yep, I can take that on. So we have access to, so on Friday, I believe it was the 10th, we received a list of our incoming students, which is how you got the email about this presentation. So over spring break, since I wasn't in Hawaii, where I was supposed to be, I went through all of the classes to see who had taken what math and science classes in middle school. So if you had taken Algebra 1 in 8th grade, we know you're going into geometry next year. If you took geometry last year, we know you're going into Algebra 2. Science is a little trickier. So our highly capable students that are coming into our building started the Chemistry A, Physics A strand in 7th grade and are currently in biology. If that is you, you are going into the 2nd semester of chemistry and physics next year, and then you will be able to take advanced classes after that. And for our students that took Science 8 this year or Math 8 this year, you will be going into Algebra 1 and Chemistry A, Physics A. And then for our incoming 10th and 11th graders, there's only about 10 of them that we can actually see their transcripts. So that's why we haven't been able to place those students in the same fashion.
I'm seeing that there might be a technical difficulty in the form. So what I'm going to have everyone do is just wait, and we will address it after this presentation. We can't fix it in the moment, but thank you for letting us know. So just, if you just don't mind just waiting, and then we'll be able to fix it when the presentation is over. And there is another question that is very popular, and the question is course selection first come, first serve? Okay,
well, since my face is here, I'll answer that one. So the answer is not now. So it's a two-part question. So if you get your classes in by the deadline, which is next Monday at 5 p.m., typically there'd be a little longer, but because we're counting on a lot of people being home right now, and we are in the process of hiring many new teachers and need to know how many sections of each class we need, we are trying to get that information as quickly as possible. So what we actually do is we take the course requests from each student and we plug them in so that we know how many students have selected each course. It is not put in by any sort of ranking system until we close our system on Monday. So once that happens, we will start tumbling. We'll see how many students who want a specific class, and then we'll start building out sections for those courses. If you were to wait a lot longer and those classes were filled, that's when the first come, first serve kind of consideration comes into play. And we assure you, for you incoming 10th and 11th graders, that we will do everything we can to support you getting the courses that you want, and definitely the classes that you need. So not to worry if it takes another week or so for us to get all of your information in. Ms. Hsu, did you want to add to that?
No, that was great.
Okay. Mr. Eichner or Ms. Metzger. We'll take a couple more questions. We have quite a few, but the problem is they seem, a lot of them, to be repeated, and we do need to get off to make sure we can fix the technical issues that we're facing, and all of us are on this call, so we need to make sure we can do that. We will answer your questions, but maybe not in person right now. So, Mr. Eichner, was there something that you're seeing, or Ms. Metzger?
I would say that we'd really want to focus on placement. There's been a couple questions about whether classes are semester or year-long, genetics. And then on the form, it might say something like just Spanish A and not B. So I don't know about that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But that's where I would say most of the decision questions around PE health, music, placement in language programs.
All right, Ms. Shu, you want to take that on?
I'm sorry, can you say that one more time, Ms. Metzger? I was
I think writing an FAQ on those around PE and health, world language, and music are the big ones I'm seeing right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
those are all common.
If you go into our course catalog, so the way that the district has set up courses is that a lot of courses may look like they're semester length, but they are a year length. But because of the way they're divided, so Spanish, for instance, was the example that Ms. Metzger brought up. Spanish 1 is divided into Spanish 1A and Spanish 1B to make up the full year. You do need to take both semesters. So our year-length courses are going to be all of our world language courses, our music courses. Any AP course is going to be a year length. So if you're looking at AP Computer Science, that's a full year. Our ELA courses, our math courses, our science courses, including, oh, she brought up biotech genetics. Yes, our biotech genetics class is a year length course, so it is the full year. So I can't think of any other year length courses off the top of my head. Yeah.
But ninth graders won't be taking that.
No, so for ninth grade, the year length course that you would be looking at is world language and or music if you are a student who's interested in music.
Yeah, those are the only ones.
Yeah, and we do have semester length music courses. So not to talk about some outlying courses, but as you go further in your educational journey at Lincoln and you're a sophomore or junior, we do have classes like Guitar Lab and Piano Lab and some other things that are a semester long. Our theater classes are all a semester also. So if you're a student that is interested in theater and you don't know if you want to do a full year, you can take a semester. Or if you want to take a full year, then we have sequential classes that you can jump into. They're just not connected like music would be.
These are really good questions. I just want to say that.
Yeah, they are.
I think that, yeah, I just want to say thanks because they are very good questions and we will be reading them all and doing our best to publish an FAQ to answer those common questions.
So one question that I'm looking at right now is in regards to our science sequence. So the science sequence that we use is set forth by the district. So the district science sequence is a semester of physics and chemistry A, then a full year of biology, and then physics and chemistry B. And because we're a new school and we want to make sure that we are following the guidelines of the district, we follow those, the science pathway as well.
What is the difference between Algebra 2 and Algebra 2 honors? Can you talk about the rigors that happen in math and the honors classes at that level and the difference between the two?
Sure. So I actually will be posting that in this presentation in just a matter of minutes. But the math department responded to my inquiry about that because I want to get the correct verbiage. And they talked about how the class moves more quickly. So if you think about, they go a little bit deeper into each area as well as moving more quickly. So one of the examples was in Algebra 2, you might get into a little bit more trigonometry than you do with the honors class than you do in the regular class. But it does move quite quickly. It is a lot of work. It is a rigorous course. For our students who are interested in challenging themselves, we do recommend that class though, because it gives you an opportunity. If you love the math, then there you go.
So there are some questions that are about specific courses. I want to direct you to our course catalog that has a very comprehensive description of the classes that we are offering. So those specific questions around specific classes will most likely be answered in our course catalog. I'm still seeing a lot of questions that say our classes first come, first serve. Just to simplify it, the answer that I will say is please submit your course registration and course requests before the deadline, because we will be building our schedule very, very soon, and that is all based on your course requests. So by requesting courses, you are basically saying that you want a spot. And so in that way, they are maybe first come, first serve. Like if you waited till the summer, you might not get the classes that you want, but we are asking you to complete the form by the 27th of April, right? 27th? Yes. And that will give you a better chance at getting the courses that you are asking for.
So I'm going to step in here really quickly, Ms. Shu, and just say something. So I see a lot of you have found my email address from looking down at my phone really quickly. I just want to say really quickly, we recognize that there is an issue with the form. We will deal with that. And I actually now know what the issue is. So question 14. So if you would wait just a moment before you try to submit your form, you may have to exit it. I don't know if you'll have to exit it and go back in. Don't exit yet. I'll go in, I'll fix question 14, make it non-required, or I'll have to look at it and see what the issue is because I don't remember which question that is. But I promise you I'll get that taken care of. Okay, so maybe one more question, Mr. Eichner or Ms. Metzger, and we'll wrap this up. And we promise we will do our best to get an FAQ up by Friday so that all of you will have an opportunity to take a look at that over the weekend.
Thank you.
Yeah, question, Mr. Eichner, Ms. Metzger? I'll just tag. I'll jump on one. There was a question about Running Start. So some people are thinking about future planning already, which is fantastic. Running Start is a program that is a partnership with the Seattle Community Colleges that will start when students are in 11th grade. So that the rules around Running Start always happen in 11th grade. And so you'll get a lot more information about that before you reach that point. If you are an incoming 11th grader and you want to talk to one of us about Running Start, please shoot us an email. Okay. I think that we are going to jump off now. We don't want to be rude to anyone, but we do want to respect everyone's time, and we want to make sure that we can give comprehensive answers. So we are going to take the questions that we have in our question and answer here and send them out by Friday. We will post an FAQ in the same link that you saw where you found the form. We will have a link to our FAQs in there. Thank you all. Get Ms. Shu here really quickly so she can say goodbye as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Future Links. We are so excited to meet you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all in the fall.
Again, thank you all. Be safe. Take care of each other and yourselves, and we will see you soon.